Let human try on her ancestor's armor as a joke, but it awakened hidden powers. Adrian Cole stood before the mirror in his quarters aboard the Federation diplomatic ship. He adjusted the collar of his crisp uniform, the fabric stiff against his skin. Years on the battlefield had left him more at ease in combat gear than this polished attire. The shift to diplomat felt like a bad fit, a temporary role forced on him after too many close calls. He ran a hand through his dark blonde hair, meeting his own cold gray eyes in the reflection. Negotiation. No plasma rifles, just words. He wondered if he could pull it off. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. Approaching High Spire, capital of Caelora. Descent in 5. Prepare for landing. Adrian grabbed his satchel, the one holding the sealed letter from Federation Command. The ship hummed as it dropped through the atmosphere, vibrations steady under his boots. Outside the viewport, the planet unfolded. Towering silver spires caught the light from twin suns, casting long shadows over a city that gleamed like polished metal. High Spire, nestled in a valley, its architecture a blend of ancient stone and advanced tech. He noted the energy fields shimmering faintly around key structures, subtle but effective shields against threats. The landing gear touched down with a soft thud on the palace grounds. Adrian stepped out into crisp air, a faint scent of ozone from the shields mixing with floral notes from nearby gardens. Guards in ornate armor lined the path, their weapons holstered but ready. At the grand entrance, a figure waited. Princess Elara Vance. Her jade-green skin glowed under the sun, long silver hair cascading over a royal gown with shimmering silver accents. She moved with grace, but her blue eyes held a sharp edge. Welcome to Caelora, Envoy Cole. Her voice carried a hint of sarcasm. The Federation sends soldiers now for talks? Your foreign policy must have taken a turn. Adrian inclined his head, keeping his tone even. I'm here as a special envoy. Out of respect for your father, my condolences on his passing. He caught the flicker in her expression, a mix of grief and wariness. She gestured for him to follow, leading him through massive doors into the palace. Beside her stood Marshal Roderick, an older man with salt and pepper hair and scars mapping his face like old campaigns. His traditional Caeloran armor clinked softly as he shifted, eyeing Adrian with cautious approval. Envoy. Roderick's voice was gruff, a nod the only greeting. Adrian sensed the man's loyalty, the way he positioned himself protectively near the princess. In the opulent reception hall, ancient tapestries depicted stellar battles and alliances. Adrian presented the letter, its holographic seal glowing. This outlines a proposed treaty, shared defenses, trade routes. The Federation seeks partnership. Elara took it, her fingers brushing the seal. Suspicion lingered in the air, thick as the incense from nearby braziers. Whispers from attendants echoed faintly. Elara led him on a brief tour down corridors lined with holographic displays. They flickered to life, showing Caelora's history, interstellar isolation after old wars, fragile peace with neighbors. We've stood alone for generations, she said, her tone formal but probing. Your arrival stirs old debates. Adrian nodded, absorbing the details. The displays mentioned border skirmishes, much like his own experiences. In a quiet alcove, away from the bustle, Adrian paused. The weight of past campaigns pressed on him. Comrades lost in firestorms on distant worlds. He gripped the satchel tighter. This mission promised no violence, yet doubt gnawed. Would words hold back the chaos he knew too well? Elara turned, her expression softening slightly. There's more to Caelora than treaties, secrets in our vaults. Come, see for yourself. Her words hung with intrigue, blending the formalities of diplomacy with a pull towards something deeper. They approached the relic vault, the air growing cooler, charged with unspoken potential. Adrian felt the shift, a bridge forming between his world and hers. The stone steps spiraled downward, each one etched with glowing inscriptions that pulsed like dying stars. Adrian followed Elara into the relic chamber, the air cool and heavy with the scent of ancient stone. Dim blue light spilled from crystalline walls, casting eerie shadows over artifacts from Caelora's forgotten past. A silver-black armor stood at the chamber's heart, its surface dull with dust, but radiating a faint hum. Adrian's boots echoed on the polished floor, the sound swallowed by the vault's vastness. Elara's silver hair caught the light as she moved, her royal gown trailing softly behind her. This is our legacy, Elara said, her voice low, almost reverent, the armor of the Guardians. The story goes that it only wakes for those meant to face the void. Been centuries since it stirred. She glanced at Adrian, a teasing glint in her blue eyes. Care to try your luck? Bet it'd look funny on a human. Adrian raised an eyebrow, stepping closer. Funny, huh? I've worn worse. He meant it as a jab, but his curiosity pulled him forward. The armor's design was sleek, alien, its curves hinting at tech beyond Federation standards. He hesitated, then pressed his palm against its chest plate. A jolt ran through him, sharp and electric. The armor flared to life, its surface glowing with a fierce inner light. Pieces detached, snapping onto his body with a precision that felt alive. His senses sharpened, colors brighter, sounds clearer. Visions flooded his mind. Star maps, blazing battles against shadow-like foes. A war across a system 12 light-years distant. Whoa, Adrian muttered, staggering back. His voice felt distant, drowned by the rush of ancestral memories. What the hell was that? Elara's jaw dropped, her sarcasm gone. It chose you. That's impossible. She stepped closer, studying him like he was one of the chamber's relics. The prophecy. It speaks of an alien igniting the starfire when darkness returns. That's you. Prophecy. Adrian shook his head, the armor's weight settling into his frame. I came to drop off a letter, not play chosen one. His tone was sharp, but doubt crept in. The visions lingered, screams of warriors, collapsing stars. He wasn't sure he wanted this. Footsteps broke the tension. Marshal Roderick burst into the chamber, his armor clinking, eyes wide at the glowing figure before him. The vault's sensors spiked. What's happening? His stern face softened as he took in Adrian, now clad in the ancient suit. By the suns, the king spoke of this. The Guardian's return. Roderick's gaze turned distant, his voice rough with memory. King Alaric's last order was to protect these relics. Said they'd save us when the time came. He straightened, saluting Adrian. I serve the chosen, as I served him. Adrian shifted uncomfortably, the armor amplifying every move. I'm no legend, Marshal. Just a soldier who got roped into diplomacy. But Roderick's conviction was unshakable, and Alara's eyes held a mix of awe and worry. We need answers, Elara said, her voice steadying. The archives. They'll have more on the prophecy. She turned toward the exit, but a faint alarm echoed from above, a distant wail that made her pause. That's not good. They climbed back to the palace, the armor's hum a constant reminder of Adrian's new role. In a quiet corridor, Elara slowed, her fingers brushing the wall's carvings. My father warned me about the umbrals, she said softly. Shadow invaders who nearly burned Caelora out 500 years ago. If they're back, she didn't finish, but her eyes locked on Adrian's, searching for strength. He nodded, feeling the armor's power pulse through him. If they're coming, we'll face them, but I need to know what I'm dealing with. His words were calm, but inside, he wrestled with the weight of it all. He'd fought in border wars, lost friends to plasma fire. This felt bigger, stranger. Roderick led them to the archive entrance, his perspective grounding the moment. He remembered the king's final days, the old man's obsession with the vault, his belief in a savior. As they stepped into the archive's glow, Roderick's scars ached with purpose. The alarms grew louder, a faint tremor shaking the palace floor. Adrian's armor glowed brighter, as if sensing the threat. Elara's hand lingered near his, a silent promise of alliance as they faced the unknown together. The palace archives hummed with the soft glow of floating data orbs, each one a repository of Caeloran history stretching back millennia. Adrian stood amid them, the guardian armor pulsing faintly on his frame, its silver-black surface catching the light. Elara navigated the orbs with practiced ease, her fingers dancing over holographic controls to summon texts etched in ancient script. The air was cool, tinged with the sterile scent of preserved knowledge. She paused at a projection, her jade-green skin illuminated as she read aloud. The armor ties to a lost guardian lineage, forged to battle the void. It's not just tech, it's alive, bonded to its wearer. Adrian's mind reeled, the armor feeding him flashes of memory, not his own. He saw warriors in identical suits, clashing with shadow-like entities, their weapons blazing across a star system 12 light-years away. Planets burned, fleets shattered. He gripped a nearby console, steadying himself. This thing's showing me battles, old ones. Feels like I was there. His voice was tight, the weight of the visions pressing hard. Elara's blue eyes flicked to him, sharp with concern. That's the armor's gift, or curse. It carries the past. She swiped another orb, pulling up her father's warnings. The umbrals nearly ended us 500 years ago. Shadow beings that devour light. Dad said they'd return when we least expected. Her voice caught, a rare crack in her regal composure. Adrian tested the armor's strength, flexing his arm. It felt like an extension of himself, amplifying every motion. But doubt gnawed. I'm no savior. I've fought wars, sure. But this? Prophecies. That's not my game. He met her gaze, searching for reassurance. Outside, Marshal Roderick barked orders into a comm, his scarred face tense. Orbital sensors are picking up anomalies. Could be a fleet. High Spire's got 3 million souls counting on us. His voice carried the weight of command, his traditional armor gleaming as he coordinated with guards stationed across the city's silver towers. Elara stepped away from the orbs, her silver hair swaying. In a quiet corner, she let her guard drop, her fingers twisting the edge of her gown. I'm supposed to lead these people, she murmured, almost to herself. But if this prophecy takes you away? Her words trailed off, her eyes distant. She shook it off, straightening. We need to test what you can do. They moved to a secluded training hall, its walls lined with reinforced panels. Adrian faced a row of practice drones, their sleek forms hovering. He raised a hand, and the armor responded, unleashing a burst of energy that shattered the drones into sparking fragments. Damn, he said, half grinning. This thing's got some kick. The armor hummed, as if pleased, but its power felt like a leash he didn't fully control. A council meeting followed, held in a chamber overlooking High Spire's shining plazas. Nobles in ornate robes debated the Federation's role, their voices thick with skepticism. A soldier? As envoy? One sneered. Elara cut in, her tone sharp but measured. Adrian's proven himself. The armor chose him. That's no coincidence. Her defense silenced the room, though whispers lingered. From the shadows, a young palace guard watched, his hands tight on his rifle. He'd grown up on stories of the Guardians, heroes who held back the dark. Seeing Adrian, a human, in that armor sparked something, hope, maybe, or fear of what was coming. He shifted, his heart pounding, as he imagined the shadows his elders described. On a balcony later, Adrian and Elara stood alone, the city sprawling below. Storm clouds gathered, their edges tinged purple by the setting suns. You don't have to do this alone, Elara said, her voice softer now, almost a whisper. Whatever's coming, we face it together, yeah? Adrian nodded, the armor's hum a steady pulse. Together. But I need to know more about these umbrals. What they want. His military instincts kicked in, already mapping strategies. The air grew heavy, the clouds darkening, as if answering his words. A distant rumble echoed, not thunder, but something mechanical, ominous. Elara's hand brushed his, a fleeting touch that anchored him. The storm was closing in, and with it, the shadow of prophecy. Alarms shattered the quiet of High Spire, their wail cutting through the palace like a blade. Adrian's armor hummed in response, its glow intensifying as he bolted from the balcony with Elara. The sky darkened unnaturally, pierced by a fleet of 20 sleek void-black vessels descending through the atmosphere. Tremors rattled the silver towers, dislodging loose ornaments that clattered to the ground. Umbrals, Elara breathed, her voice tight. They're here. They reached the palace battlements, where Marshal Roderick already directed defenses. His scarred hands flew over holographic consoles, activating energy barriers that shimmered into existence around key structures. Shields up. All units to positions. His gruff commands echoed over the comms. Adrian scanned the horizon, the armor enhancing his vision. Ships like jagged shadows, their hulls absorbing light from the twin suns. Below, in the shining plazas, civilians scrambled for cover. Screams rose as families clutched each other, darting into shelters while shadows from the invaders blotted out the daylight. A mother pulled her child close, whispering reassurances amid the chaos, her relic pendant glowing faintly as if for protection. Panic rippled through the streets like a wave, vendors abandoning stalls, workers fleeing factories. The vulnerability hit hard. Daily life, so orderly moments ago, now fractured by fear. Umbral forces touched down on the outskirts, shadowy warriors emerging from drop pods with swirling purple auras. They clashed with Caeloran soldiers in brutal skirmishes, dark tendrils whipping against energy blades. Laser fire lit the air, but the invaders pressed on, their forms shifting like smoke. Adrian leaped from the battlement, the armor propelling him into the fray. His movements amplified, he landed amid a squad of umbrals, unleashing precise energy strikes that vaporized several in bursts of light. "Stay back!" he shouted, his voice amplified. The foes recoiled, their attention drawn to him like moths to flame. He dodged a tendril strike, countering with an armored fist that cracked through shadow armor. Elara donned her light battle armor in the command center, its sleek plates snapping into place over her gown. She joined Roderick at the consoles, her fingers steady despite the rising din. "Redirect power to the forward barriers," she ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We hold the line." Roderick nodded, his eyes fierce. "Aye, Princess. They won't take the palace easily." The palace shook from orbital impacts, chandeliers swaying wildly before crashing to the marble floors. Glass windows shattered in sprays of shards, forcing evacuations. "To the throne hall!" Roderick bellowed, leading a retreat through crumbling corridors. Dust filled the air, comms crackling with reports of breaches. Adrian pushed through debris-filled halls, his military training kicking in. He spotted a group of trapped nobles under a collapsed beam, their cries muffled. "Hold on," he called, lifting the wreckage with armor-enhanced strength. It groaned as he heaved it aside, freeing them. "Go. Follow the guards." They stumbled away, gratitude in their eyes. But Adrian didn't linger. More umbrals poured in. The invasion intensified, ships hovering like predators. Explosions bloomed across Highspire, fires licking at tower bases. Elara's voice came over his comm. "Adrian, the heart of Caelora. It's in the throne hall. Powers our defenses. We have to protect it." Her urgency spurred him on. He fought his way back, dispatching foes with calculated strikes. The armor's hum growing louder. Roderick held a choke point, his energy rifle barking shots that felled advancing shadows. "They're endless," he grunted to a nearby guard. But he pressed on, scars from old battles fueling his resolve. Federation aid was en route, but light years away, too far to matter now. Elara coordinated from a makeshift station, her battle armor humming as she boosted signals. "Adrian, hurry. The heart's our last stand." The palace trembled again, a section of wall crumbling. Umbrals breached closer, their whispers like static in the air, promises of power, of endless night. Adrian burst into the throne hall, sealing the doors behind him. The massive blue crystal pulsed atop the throne, its glow sustaining the flickering shields outside. Elara met his gaze, relief flashing. "You made it." But the alarms peaked, and shadows gathered at the edges. The fight was far from over, the darkness closing in like a noose. The throne hall's vast chamber loomed around them, its arched ceilings cracked from the bombardment. At the center, the heart of Caelora pulsed like a living star. A massive blue crystal perched atop the throne. Its glow cast shifting shadows on the walls, sustaining the city's faltering shields with rhythmic waves of energy. Adrian stood guard, his armor humming in sync with the crystal's beat. Elara moved to a control panel, her light battle armor reflecting the light as she keyed in commands. "This is it," she said, her voice steady but edged with strain. "The heart powers everything. Lose it, and Highspire falls." Umbral troops hammered at the outer walls, their assaults echoing like thunder. Breaches appeared, shadowy forms pouring through despite the Caeloran firepower holding them at bay. Marshal Roderick led the defense at the gates, his energy rifle steady in scarred hands. Push them back, for the princess. His troops rallied, lasers carving through the invaders, but the numbers overwhelmed. Tendrils of darkness snaked forward, testing the lines. Adrian channeled the armor's power, raising his hands to weave temporary force fields. Blue barriers shimmered into place, repelling a wave of umbrals that slammed against them like a tide. Sparks flew, the air crackling with energy. That'll hold for now, he muttered, sweat beading on his brow. The effort drained him, the armor's hum turning to a low growl. Elara boosted the heart's output from the controls, the crystal flaring brighter. Its light flooded the hall, weakening nearby shadows that recoiled like burned flesh. Buying time, she said over the din, but it won't last forever. Her fingers flew across the panel, rerouting power from non-essential systems. The shields outside stabilized, but the palace groaned under the strain. Roderick fought on the front line, his perspective narrowed to the chaos before him. He parried a dark tendril with his blade, firing point blank into an umbral's core. The scars on his arms burned with memory, the king's final battle, the weight of legacy. Hold, damn you, he roared to his men, their faces grim but determined. He honored the old regent with every shot, pushing back the tide one step at a time. A calm crackled to life, Federation voices breaking through static. Aid en route, but interstellar jumps take time. Hang on, Caelora. The promise felt hollow, light years stretching like an abyss. Isolation pressed in, the twin suns' light dimmed by the invading fleet. Adrian spotted movement in a side hallway, an umbral lieutenant slinking through, its form coiling like smoke. He charged, the armor boosting his speed. They clashed in a duel of light and shadow, his starfire blasts meeting dark tendrils that whipped like vipers. The lieutenant's strikes revealed glimpses of its origins, a hive mind, endless voids birthing more like it. Adrian dodged, countering with a focused beam that pierced its core. It dissolved in a hiss, but more pressed in. Elara left the controls to tend wounded soldiers dragged into the hall. Her graceful hands bound injuries with field kits, her voice soothing. You're safe now. Rest. She inspired them, her presence a beacon amid the rubble. Inwardly, she braced for what lay ahead. The prophecies' cost looming like a shadow. The siege ramped up, umbral ships bombarding from above. Cracks spiderwebbed the palace dome, exposing the hall to whipping winds and debris. Rain from the storm clouds pelted in, mixing with dust. They're breaking through, Roderick shouted over comms, his position faltering. Then, a holographic form materialized at the hall's center. The umbral sovereign, tall and thin, its shadowy silhouette towered, a swirling purple-black halo where a face should be. Surrender the crystal, it whispered, voice like echoing wind. Give it to the darkness, eternal power in exchange. Temptation laced its words, promises of dominion flickering in Adrian's mind. Adrian stepped forward, armor glowing defiantly. Not a chance. Elara joined him, her hand on the throne's edge. The sovereign's hologram solidified, tendrils extending as minions breached the doors. The ultimate confrontation brewed, the air thick with impending doom. Lasers fired, shadows lunged, and the heart pulsed faster, as if sensing the endgame. The umbral sovereign's presence filled the throne hall, its shadowy form towering over the shattered pillars. The purple-black halo swirled where its face should be, radiating malice that pressed against Adrian's senses. The heart of Caelora pulsed erratically behind him, its blue light flickering as the palace shuddered under relentless bombardment. His armor burned hot, resonating with the crystal's energy, but the strain clawed at his body, muscles aching under the power's weight. "You cannot hold it," the sovereign whispered, its voice slithering into his mind. "Yield the heart and rule the stars." Adrian planted himself between the sovereign and the crystal, his armored boots scraping the cracked marble. "Keep dreaming," he growled, voice steady despite the pain. The armor flared, its glow pushing back the encroaching darkness. Elara stood at his side, her hand brushing his armored shoulder. "Together," she said, her voice firm, eyes blazing with resolve. She reached for the heart's controls, merging her will with its ancient power, the crystal humming, louder in response. Umbral minions surged through the breached doors, their shadowy forms weaving between laser fire from Roderick and his guards. The hall erupted into chaos, blades clashed, and energy blasts scorched the air. Roderick parried a tendril, his rifle barking shots that dissolved attackers into wisps. "Hold the line," he shouted, his scarred face set in grim determination. Guards fought fiercely, their armor dented but unyielding, buying time for the heart's defenders. From the corners, terrified courtiers huddled, their eyes wide as they watched the battle unfold. A young scribe clutched a relic pendant, whispering prayers for the prophesied hero. The clash of light and shadow felt biblical, the hall's trembling walls a testament to the stakes. Their fear hung heavy, a silent plea for salvation. The sovereign unleashed a void blast, a wave of darkness that shattered a pillar into rubble. Adrian dodged, the armor granting him unnatural speed, his boots skidding across the floor. He countered with a starfire burst, the beam slicing through the sovereign's form, but it reformed, laughing, a low, grating sound. "You wield borrowed power, human. It will break you." Memories flooded Adrian from the armor, tactics of ancient guardians battling similar foes. He saw formations, energy patterns, and weaknesses in the void structure. "Keep talking," he muttered, adjusting his stance. He fired again, targeting the halo's core, the blast staggering the sovereign briefly. It hissed, retaliating with tendrils that lashed like whips, forcing him to dive behind a fallen column. Elara channeled her lineage's bond with the heart, her hands glowing as she amplified its light. The crystal's radiance burned brighter, searing nearby minions into ash. Her face paled, vitality draining with each pulse. "I can't hold this long," she warned, her voice tight but unwavering. Adrian nodded, his own strength fraying as the armor overheated, warning pulses vibrating through his chest. The battle peaked as the sovereign lunged, its form solidifying into a claw-like mass. It grappled with Adrian, their energies clashing in a vortex of light and shadow. The hall trembled, cracks widening in the dome above. Sparks flew, the air thick with ozone and the stench of burning void. Adrian pushed back, his starfire flaring, but the sovereign's strength was relentless, its whispers promising eternity if he surrendered. Roderick and his guards held off the minions, their numbers dwindling. A guard fell, tendrils piercing his armor, but Roderick dragged him back, firing relentlessly. "For Caelora," he roared, his voice raw. The courtier's prayers grew louder, a desperate chant amid the chaos. In a fleeting moment, Adrian caught Elara's gaze, The armor's memories clarified. The heart's full power demanded a choice, a sacrifice. He understood what it meant, the cost of unleashing its potential. Elara, he said, voice low, we can end this, but it might take everything. Her hand tightened on his arm, her nod resolute. The sovereign loomed closer, its halo pulsing with hunger. The hall's air crackled, the crystal's glow reaching a fever pitch as Adrian and Elara prepared for the final stand. Their fates intertwined with the light. The throne hall quaked, its fractured dome letting in gusts of storm-laced wind. The heart of Caelora blazed, its blue light a defiant pulse against the umbral sovereign's encroaching shadow. Adrian's armor scorched his skin, cracks spiderwebbing its silver-black surface as it channeled power beyond its limits. Ilara's hand rested on the crystal, her face pale but resolute. We can't just hold them, she said, her voice cutting through the din. The prophecy, it's about the heart's final burst. One strike to end them, but it'll destroy the crystal. Adrian met her gaze, the armor's hum a drumbeat in his chest. And the armor, maybe me too. His words were steady, but his gray eyes flickered with the weight of it. He'd faced death in border wars, but this was different. A choice, not a firefight. You sure about this? Ilara's lips twitched, a ghost of her earlier sarcasm. Not like we've got options, soldier. Her hand pressed harder against the heart, its glow flaring through her fingers. Together then. They locked eyes, a silent pact forged in the chaos. Adrian placed his hand beside hers, the armor resonating with the crystal's energy. Heat surged, a torrent of power fusing their wills into one. The sovereign lunged, its shadowy claws raking the air. Fools! You'll burn for nothing. Its voice echoed, seductive and venomous. Adrian braced, the armor amplifying his strength as he pushed back with a starfire blast. The hall erupted in light, the heart's energy surging into a radiant beam. The Starflare. It tore through the sovereign, its form unraveling in shrieks that shook the walls. The beam pierced the sky, streaking upward, obliterating umbral ships in fiery bursts visible across High Spire. Outside, Caeloran soldiers paused, their weary eyes catching the light. A grizzled lieutenant, bloodied but standing, raised a fist. Look, the savior! Cheers erupted amid the rubble, hope igniting as enemy vessels exploded, their debris raining harmlessly into the valley. The tide had turned, the darkness breaking under the flare's wrath. Inside, the Starflare faded, its brilliance leaving spots in Adrian's vision. The heart crumbled to dust, its fragments scattering across the throne. The armor shattered, pieces falling from Adrian's body like broken glass, leaving him in his tattered Federation uniform. He collapsed, lungs burning, every muscle screaming. Elara dropped beside him, her battle armor dull, her strength sapped. You're still here, she whispered, her voice raw with relief. Her hand found his, trembling, but warm. Roderick stormed into the hall, his rifle lowered, eyes scanning for threats. It's over, he rasped, voice thick with emotion. He knelt by the wounded, organizing survivors, his scars etched deeper by the battle's toll. The fleet's gone. High Spire stands. Guards secured the hall, dragging fallen umbrals into piles of fading ash. The sovereign's final echo lingered, a curse on the light, then dissolved into silence. The courtiers emerged from hiding, their faces streaked with dust and awe. They whispered of the prophecy fulfilled, their savior a human who'd given everything. A young scribe clutched his pendant tighter, vowing to record this day for generations. Adrian struggled to sit, and Elara supported him. The hall's air was heavy with ozone and ruin, but dawn's first rays crept through the broken dome, painting the rubble gold. "We did it," he said, his voice hoarse. "But no more armor, no more heroics." He tried for a grin, but it came out weary. Elara's hand tightened on his. "You didn't need the armor to save us." Her blue eyes held something new, gratitude. Maybe more. The palace groaned, settling into its wounds. But the alarms had stilled. Roderick approached, saluting them both. "The city's holding. We'll rebuild." His gaze lingered on Adrian, respect replacing his earlier caution. Exhaustion pulled at them, but the light through the dome felt like a promise. The umbrals were gone, their shadow lifted. Adrian leaned against Elara, her presence grounding him. The cost had been high, the heart, the armor, nearly their lives. But High Spire breathed again. The dawn warmed their faces, a quiet victory amid the wreckage, as they faced the uncertain future together. The ruins of High Spire sprawled under the twin suns, their light glinting off shattered spires and smoldering debris. Adrian sat on the palace steps, his tattered Federation uniform hanging loose, the absence of the armor a strange void. His body ached, each breath a reminder of the Starflare's toll. Around him, citizens emerged from shelters, their faces weary but alive. They gathered in the plaza, voices rising in a chant. "Foreign savior." The words felt heavy, unearned. He'd only done what was needed, nothing more. Elara approached, her light battle armor replaced by a simple robe, silver hair loose in the morning breeze. She sat beside him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. "They're calling you a hero," she said, her voice soft, almost teasing. "Fits you better than that uniform." Her blue eyes held warmth, a flicker of something deeper forged in the battle's heat. Adrian managed a tired smile. "Heroes don't lose their gear and collapse. I'm just a guy who got lucky." The crowd's cheers grew louder, children clutching relics as elders recounted the light that saved them. From their perspective, the city pulsed with renewed purpose. A baker, his shop half ruined, passed out bread to survivors, his hands trembling with gratitude. "The human did it," he murmured to his neighbor, "kept us breathing." The tale of sacrifice spread, a spark of optimism in the rubble. Months later, the palace stood partially restored, its scars a testament to survival. Ilara's coronation filled the rebuilt throne hall, now open to the sky where the dome once arched. She stood regal, her jade-green skin glowing under a silver crown. "Caelora rises anew," she declared, her voice carrying over the crowd. "With the Federation, we build on trust, not relics." Her gaze found Adrian, now clad in a new envoy's uniform, standing among dignitaries. He nodded, pride swelling despite his doubts. As permanent envoy, Adrian coordinated aid convoys from Federation ships, their hulls unloading supplies to rebuild High Spire's infrastructure. The city's 3 million souls worked tirelessly, silver towers rising again. He moved among them, his military stride softened by diplomacy, bridging worlds with every handshake. The prophecy was gone, its power spent. But he felt more purpose now than in any border campaign. From the streets, citizens saw hope in the recovery. A young guard, the same one who'd watched the council days before, now patrolled with confidence, inspired by the human who'd faced the void. He didn't keep the power, he told his squad, voice low with awe. That strength. Markets buzzed again, laughter mixing with the clang of construction. On a quiet morning, Adrian and Elara stood on the palace balcony overlooking the city. The sunrise bathed High Spire in gold. No longer the heart's glow, but a natural warmth. You lost the armor, Elara said, her hand brushing his. But you didn't lose us. Her tone was gentle, carrying the weight of their shared fight. Adrian's fingers curled around hers, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they'd forged. Marshal Roderick, now High Advisor, joined them, his armor polished, but his scars still stark. Stories are spreading, he said, voice gruff but warm. The savior who let go keeps the young ones humble. He'd taken to sharing the battle's lessons, ensuring Caelora remembered the cost of victory, humility, alliance, and sacrifice. Adrian looked out at the horizon, the twin suns climbing higher. He'd come to deliver a letter, stumbled into a prophecy, and walked away human again. The armor's power had been immense, but letting it go felt truer. Strength's not in holding on, he said quietly, almost to himself. It's in knowing when to let go. Elara squeezed his hand, her smile faint, but real. You're learning, soldier. The city hummed below, alive with possibility. Caelora's future stretched ahead, built not on ancient might, but on trust, on bonds that endured. The light of hope, not relics, would guide them now, a quiet promise sealed in the dawn's embrace.